So we're gonna start filming a series here to hopefully help all of our DIYers out there, as well as people new to the Metroplex that want to start taking care of a lawn on a home that they've just got, that the lawn might be in dire shape and they just don't know where to start, or somebody that's been struggling with a lawn for a while and maybe use several lawn care companies and still don't get the results they want, or whatever the case might be. I'm probably not gonna be on your particular lawn, but I'll be on a lawn that might have some of the similar issues. So the lawn I'm standing on right now is in pretty bad shape. It has a mixture of two different turf grasses that I can see just pulling up on it in my first visual inspection of it. It as well has quite a few weeds in it as well. The first thing, you know, if I'm dissecting this lawn and I'm wanting to revive it back to health, is I've got to think about the cultural practices that are currently going on this yard. Just looking at it, never stepping foot on this lawn, never talking to anybody, I can tell that this lawn has been mowed infrequent, which again, I know we've talked about it in the past. Infrequent mowing is not necessarily a bad thing when you're mowing it at the right height, but when you're mowing the lawn infrequent at 2 to 2.5 inches and you're cutting 75, 80, 100% of the leaf blade off, depending on if you're mowing every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you're doing long-term damage to your grass just because you're taking its ability to propagate, feed itself, everything, because you're taking all of the leaf blade away, and that's where it creates the most important function of photosynthesis. So mowing residentially and keeping grasses at 2 to 3 inches in between that range, you need to make sure that you're mowing every 7 days to never remove the top third of the leaf blade. If you're gonna mow bi-weekly, you have to mow at the higher ranges. Could even be between 5 and 6 inches on a bi-weekly cut. And you probably want to bag your clippings. Not bagging your clippings on a weekly basis is great because it's giving free organic matter back into the soil and free fertilizer. I know if I get this customer on a weekly or 7-day interval of mowing, that's gonna take away a lot of issues. It's gonna help with the thickness of the grass, it's gonna help with the weed issues, it's going to help fertilize the yard, organic matter, if we're mulching it back into the lawn, we're not creating a bigger thatch layer. And the other thing is, I can tell this lawn is underwater. So I've got to get them on the correct watering schedule. They need to water obviously 1 inch to 1.5 inches a week throughout the growing season. I would say that there's probably parts of this lawn that have been watered a little bit better than others. Not only do I need to check the irrigation timer to see the duration, like how many days of the week, how many, you know, minutes and all of that, probably would recommend that you'd get an irrigation company out here to check the coverage, because I think there's a coverage issue going on here as well, whether it's sprinkler zone completely not working or a head here or there. Those are the two biggest things that I'm addressing on the initial visit with this homeowner, because I know I need to get those two things turned around first. Lastly, I know I've got to get rid of the annual weeds. There's a lot of annual weeds in this yard because I'm sure it hasn't had any pre-emergence at all or ever. So I know, like right here, one that's a predominant annual weed in the fall is wild aster. I've got wild aster here, and if it would have had a pre-emergent regimen on here, this wouldn't be an issue. It also is there because the grass is thinner. We got some spurge over there as well, perennial weeds that we're gonna have to deal with here in a minute because it's a little bit of a different issue, and it's called Dallas grass. I would have to deal with that with a homeowner. Dallas grass is a weed that we can't prevent, so we're going to have to use a non-selective herbicide on it, unfortunately. You would know it as a trade name of Roundup. The active ingredient in it is glyphosate, so we would be using that. There's other non-selectives out there like Diquat. I know you can buy them because I know glyphosate is not really being sold over the counter anymore at Home Depot. You can get other non-selectives like Diquat that I think work really well as a homeowner DIYing this. If you're buying it from Home Depot or Lowe's, they usually come pre-mixed and have a electric wand on there that will spray it for you and just spray the areas where you have the Dallas grass in the lawn. And it could take 2 to 3 times spraying it over a summer and doing that maybe 2 to 3 years in a row to completely rid that out of your lawn, whether we're doing it or you're doing it yourself. It's just unfortunate that it is such a nuisance weed, but generally when you get it out of the yard and you have a good pre-emergent regimen, you can keep that weed out of your yard, whether your neighbors are maintaining their lawn or not. They do have 2 different types of turf grasses, and that is something that would face a challenge on, because we have Bermuda, we have St. Augustine. I look at the St. Augustine on this lawn and I'm like, okay, why is it here? I don't know, maybe somebody thought that, you know, they went to Home Depot, Lowe's, thought it was the right type of sod, put it down. They don't have, especially in this area where the St. Augustine is, they don't have shade. So then it's not really a purpose for it unless like that's just what they wanted, because most people are putting down St. Augustine for purpose of being able to grow grass in more shaded areas because it doesn't require as much sunlight as Bermuda. However, though, I would always recommend growing Bermuda in Dallas-Fort Worth if you have the ability to do that. If you have full sunlight, the right growing conditions, Bermuda is going to be the best grass suited for this area. Zoysia's making a run. I like Bermuda better just because Zoysia doesn't recover as quickly as Bermuda if something happens. That's another subject for another day. So like I said, this faces a challenge on us. For me, I'm gonna focus on getting this Bermuda healthy, and if the St. Augustine's healthy with it, then that is what it is. I'm probably gonna treat it the same, and I'm wanting the Bermuda to outcompete the St. Augustine, which is gonna be hard to do. It's just a conversation I'm gonna have to have with this homeowner. You're gonna probably always have to live with two different types of turf grass. The only alternative you have is if you wanted to spray all of the St. Augustine with a non-selective, kill it off, but that's still gonna be years of trying to get this St. Augustine out of your lawn. You're just gonna have to come to the understanding that you're gonna have to live with both of these turf grasses, and we're just gonna keep both of them as healthy as we can. But if the Bermuda outcompetes it, that's great. I don't know that it will, and I doubt that this St. Augustine, if it's really healthy, maybe over, you know, 10, 15 years could take over all of the Bermuda, but it would be a long process. Obviously, we have a magnolia tree that they need to call an arborist on that's not doing so hot, and it's probably because of lack of water, looking at the lawn. We want to ensure that homeowners know that the key components on a lawn is mowing, watering, and what we do. There is a lot of science that goes into maintaining a lawn, making sure the flora on the property is in the type of shape that it needs to be. I'm also looking at the low-hanging fruit, like where can I put the least amount of investment and get the biggest results, and know that like how I'm gonna get this yard turned around the quickest. In my opinion, the mowing and watering, especially on a situation like this, is what we need to address, as well as let's go ahead and get the weed control program going. Let's go and get the nutritional program going. And then I would imagine over the next year and a half, 2 years, this lawn is gonna be completely different. I would even imagine in the next 8 months, it's gonna be a totally different lawn. Again, we're gonna be trying to do a lawn a week, bringing that to y'all. So that way, hopefully you can use this pieces of advice that I'm giving you. You'll see these issues on the lawns that we're looking at, and maybe you're dealing with the same thing, and it can help you achieve the results that you've been wanting to look for on your lawn.